Welcome to the Science and Spirituality Podcast, where we dive deep into universal spiritual principles and ground them in modern science. My name is Chris Carton.
And my name is Kevin Carton. And we are committed to simplifying the spiritual side of success for you with easy to understand scientific research so you could walk away with practical tools to create radical transformations in your life. Let's get started.
All right, welcome to another episode of Science and Spirituality Podcast. Today's another special episode because we have a guest with us today. So we're here with Danny Parrott. He's a certified herbalist and actually one of my really good friends. We met on Instagram. So Danny, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Awesome, cool. And I just actually wanted to start with a really quick story about Danny and his herbs. So he makes herbal elixirs, which we'll get into at some point on this podcast. But about 6 months ago, my dad went to the hospital with some really bad stomach pains, and it turns out he had gallstones. And so the doctor wanted to remove his gallbladder. That was, just a standard surgery that people usually do in those cases. So he had like an endoscopy, all that stuff, sonogram. They said, yeah, you need to take it out. And my dad didn't want to go through surgery. He's not that old. He's in his late 50s. And so I actually reached out to Danny because I've been using his products for a while. And I was like, hey, man, is there anything you can do for someone with gallstones? Any herb mixtures that you have or any custom things you can make? And he was like, yeah, I actually have something that might work. And so he made my dad a custom herbal elixir with, I believe, goji berry in it. And so my dad took it for a month and a half, and he went back for another endoscopy and sonogram. And the doctor said, hey, you actually don't need to get surgery anymore because things are looking good right now. So I just wanted to, Danny, send you a shout out and say thank you for that because my dad did change some stuff with his diet, but I definitely think that was one of the big things that helped him out. And so I just wanted to thank you and, highlight that.
Oh, man, my pleasure.
Yeah, man.
Gallbladders out here, man. That surgery is too common.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I just wanted to get in real quick to what got you into herbalism and holistic medicine in the first place.
Honestly, it started with fathers. My best friend's father died of cancer. And when that happened, it was several years ago. I just dove deep into looking into natural ways that you can fight cancer. Unfortunately, the most prominent way was cannabis, but legalities did not allow me to deal with that. So I looked into other Chinese medicines and Ayurvedic medicines, and I saw these herbs, and there was a class of herbs called adaptogens, which had so many different benefits. So I looked into those and saw other countries is writing so many scientific articles and researches they're doing on it, and we're just not doing it here in America. So with those tests, I decided to mess around and start to replicate the studies and using myself as an example, using my friends and family as examples. And then once I had the feedback from it and so many positive effects, I just started to really go real deep and making them into tasty beverages.
Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I can, you were about to say I can attest to the tastiness.
Yeah.
I was literally about to say the same thing because Danny, we just met. At least face to face for the first time, but Chris has been talking about you for the last year, and he's had obviously your elixirs, and so I've tasted them before. They're really good.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Yeah. So what is it exactly about adaptogens that makes them so healthy in terms of
wait, hold on. Yo, before you even go into that, can you dive into what are adaptogens? Because I've heard the term, I have no idea what it is.
Well, adaptogens is just a category. It's just a name of a class of herbs, and it is many of them. There are roots, there's berries, there's leaves. It doesn't really matter. It's a botanical that has three common things. They're all non-toxic. They help with immune system function, and they help with hormone balance. And more specifically, they reduce our stress or our response to stress, especially, in America, can't avoid it.
Yeah.
And what stress is, the HPA axis, you see something, you have a heightened effect of it. This makes you handle that situation in a much more even keeled manner.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And the beauty of it, like the name adaptogens, they adapt to each person. So if they don't have, like a drug will have one specific action, it will lower your blood pressure or lower your thyroid hormone or something. This has a double directional effect, which basically means it will do whatever your body needs in order for your body to become uh, based in homeostasis.
Right.
Sounds
No,
awesome.
that's yeah, no, that is really awesome. And speaking about like the HPA axis, like you were mentioning before, it is one of the biggest, control systems that has to do with our homeostasis. And so I think one of the awesome things about adaptogens, because once I heard about them and once I tried them, I was like, I got to learn more about this stuff too. And it was just awesome because at the time I was getting really interested in human stress response and how the stress response through this HPA axis can actually make you really sick because it downregulates your immune system because your body thinks like, hey, I'm stressed, which means evolutionarily I'm about to fight a tiger right now or I'm like about to die. So your body sends all of its available resources, out to your extremities. It takes away the blood from the digestive system and puts it in places that it thinks are, more important. And it sacrifices other functions like digestion, assimilation, immunity, all that stuff. And so it's awesome, and I think that's one of the biggest things that acupuncture works on too is that stress axis.
Right.
Yeah, and so the adaptogens just sound freaking awesome. How did you like start mixing them into the elixirs that you make? Like what was the idea behind that?
Oh, the idea was first I wanted to have multivitamin. I used to take vitamins all the time, like multivitamin pill form, and they hurt my stomach if I didn't eat, and they just weren't. They worked, but I felt like they weren't as effective as using a liquid. So
Mm.
first it started, I used the herbs, and then I wanted a vitamin, and I blended the herbs and the liquid vitamins together, and separately, complete transparency, they were disgusting. The herbs, the herbs are so bitter. The vitamin itself was just And then I started to mix organic juices and then sweetened it with different sweeteners and messed around with it, the flavoring for about a year until I came up with something that was just tasty, efficient, and give you the most bang for your sip, if you will.
Nice.
Mhm.
That's awesome. And then so where did this mission start of, because your company is called Movers, right?
Right.
Which, what does it stand for?
Making our vision everyone's reality.
Yeah. All right. So where did that start from? What made, I understand, like, you wanted to help out like your friends and, people's parents and people you knew that were close to you, but where did this real like deep desire to really just decide to help the world and transform people's health? Where did that start?
That was something I would say from seventh grade.
Mm,
It was something innate. I just always wanted to help people. I always wanted to be uh, a voice of reason, a voice of comfort. I just assisting people to get over problems was really the at the core of it. The herbalism came later after I graduated. I mean, I went to school to be a social worker,
mhm.
social psychology. That's what I went for. And then the herb just kind of they fell into my lap. I mean, research is something that I do for fun. Honestly,
Mhm.
I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to the research part.
Welcome
So,
to the team.
again,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, you take the knowledge that you learn and then you start to apply it and use it in real life scenarios, and then it just blossomed. And it's been a blessing. It's been a lot of fun too.
Mhm.
Nice.
Yeah, that's like one of the things that I'm going through right now as a acupuncturist in training is really trying to get over the fear of what if I do something that's going to hurt the person that I'm working on. Even though like I went through school and like I know where to put the points and I know what the points do in certain combinations, but there's still that fear like in the back of my mind where it's like, what if, this doesn't work or what if this goes wrong? Do you ever like face that like in the beginning of starting your company or
Oh
even now, like when you're giving people, formulas?
yes, that was like when I first began. I was like, oh my gosh, what if I give somebody something they're allergic to it? What if they have a bad reaction? I'm not sure what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because actually, before I got into this, my second career out of college, I was a food safety inspector.
Mm.
So when it comes to microbiology and bacteria growth and things like that, I I did audits for WalMarts and Costco's and BJ's and all kinds of supermarkets. So I know the grand magnitude of having somebody take get a foodborne illness from a substance. So that was always like in the back of my mind in the beginning. And, you know, especially when you're taking, I know what organic juices, I know how to test that. But then when I took and blended the juices with the herbs, with the vitamins, it became a new substance.
Hmm.
So when it's a brand new substance, I'm assuming I'm just kind of doing arithmetic saying, oh, this juice is good and this vitamin is good and this herb is good, but I don't really know how well it's going to be altogether. So
Hmm.
just, you know, the trial and error, tasting it myself, letting some bottles sit outside for a week and a half and then testing it on myself to see how
Hmm.
I feel afterwards. And I've made some mistakes.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was a learning experience. And at this point, you know, the time and the dedication and the feedback, it's been amazing.
That's awesome. I think like a lot of like the most successful people in history were did some like guinea pig testing on themselves too, because
It's a good
especially
concept.
when you're out there like starting something new, you kind of have to take that leap of faith sometimes, and especially with like a health product, like you believed in it so much that you were like, I'm gonna. I mean, your son takes it too, right? The
Yeah,
elixirs. Yeah.
yeah,
So I mean, I enjoy seeing that when I'm on your Instagram and I'm looking at your stories and like you and your son are taking the shots together,
right.
and like it's awesome that you're very much like a man of your word, and you stand by your product because you use it yourself and you understand like how good it can be for others, and like you prove it by saying, hey, look, I take this too every day, and I think that that's really awesome and really admirable. So I just wanted to, throw you that compliment there because, yeah.
Yeah, that was a big step too, because you know
Mhm.
we your kids, man. You can't mess around. Like there's
Yeah.
no, you don't do something with your child unless you're 100% sure that it's not going to harm them.
Hmm.
You know, so that was, you know, that's something I just love. It's safe.
Yeah.
It's
I
safe.
think it's cool too, your background in social psychology and then getting into, helping people with their health. There's definitely like a big, I think, paradigm in the United States right now about medicine and about Western medicine versus Eastern medicine versus alternative medicine versus complementary medicine. Um,
Right.
have you seen that like as a I don't want to say an issue, because as like a challenge, maybe as promoting your product and trying to educate people about this kind of stuff. Where in the West, when you grow up, like I've never heard of ashwagandha until like a year ago, or goji berry. You know what I mean? It's not in my like vocabulary growing up in the West.
Same.
Right. That is a huge issue.
Hmm.
I would say yes, it is a problem. It is an obstacle. It is everything that you can think of.
Yeah.
Because people have this mindset in which they're conditioned in Western medicine to trust the doctors and trust the FDA and trust the CDC, and everything that comes out of the mouth of somebody with a white coat is like gospel.
Hmm.
And they are forgetting, you know, they are practicing and they have been educated in a way that is only one dimensional. And they are completely missing the fact that our bodies are more than just tissues and cells. We're not just levers and pulleys. Like we have energy that flows through us. And the fact that they completely ignore that, it makes them basically they're looking with one eye shut, one arm tied behind their back trying to accomplish something, and people are paying the price for it, which, you know, I try to educate. I make hospital visits. I whatever the case may be, I will go and I will talk to you. I will talk to your doctor. I'll talk to your nurse or whatever, just to improve the common knowledge of our society. And that's something that has to be improved. I mean, it's working. At the end of the day, it's just not going fast enough for me. I
Hmm.
feel like there's
Hmm.
still too many people that's suffering. Like for example, your dad had his gallbladder was about to get taken out.
Hmm.
If you didn't know me, you didn't call me, there was a high chance that it would have been a surgical procedure. His gallbladder would have been missing. He wouldn't have been able to eat the same foods or digest his food correctly for the rest of his life. And it's so many cases like that across this country. It's a tragedy at the end of the day, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Just to think
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, I think that needs to change on the internal level though too, because like, which is I'm thrilled to hear that you're willing to go and have conversations about that and to educate. Now, I hope it really depends on then like the doctor and if they're willing to listen and learn. But
Right.
I mean, because I came from the pharmaceutical world, and that's the ultimate. Everything you just described is the reason why I decided to not become a pharmacist. Like I got my 4-year degree, but I did not continue to get my doctorate because I had that foresight to see what I was getting into. Because I literally my entire 4th year was learning drugs and the names of them, the mode of action, and then like the contraindications and the side effects. That's it. Like nothing more in depth. And we were even told, we're aware that doctors, like the medical doctors that prescribe the medication, don't understand it fully. So we actually need to have more communication between like a pharmacist and an actual doctor. And that's even like one piece that's like missing. Like even in just that realm on the Western side, let alone all of these this other information that is vastly important, you know. So it's just amazing how much, I mean, we have a lot to grow, but and a lot to do, but I'm thrilled to hear that, you know, there's someone in the world like you who's leading the way, like blazing a trail. Like, I don't know if you consider it as like, because you know, I don't know how many years you've been doing this, but it sounds like it's very normal to you. But like from my perspective, like watching you, I'm like looking at you like this amazing person who's doing this amazing work that not a lot of people are willing to do. And so, like, I mean that, like that word, that like trailblazer, like I mean it deeply.
Thank you. I mean,
Welcome.
it's a difficult task, especially dealing with the people that need it the most, which are people that's older than us. You know, the generation that's right above us. They're going through some terrible health issues. You know, and it's only because they've been conditioned to believe it, and to have them listen to somebody that they assume is just younger and less experienced than them. That is, oh my gosh, it's like banging your head against the wall.
Yep. Yeah.
But you know, it's something that's necessary, and at enough time now to go by. I mean, I'm not the only one. I feel like I'm in a lane that's, there's not that many people, but there are a lot. For elixirs, I haven't found anybody that's doing quite what I'm doing and blending the sciences together quite the way that I'm doing. But I learned from a lot of other people, and they have their perspective, which is still in the same direction. So as long as we're progressing in our knowledge of ourself, of our cells, of our, you know, of the energy that flows through us, then we're going to be in a pretty good position.
Yeah.
That's that funny thing called time. You know, we just want to just hurry it up, man. It's got to go faster.
Yeah. I think it's awesome, the points that both of you brought up about just doctors and just how we've kind of resigned the fact that they know everything and they know more than we could possibly know about our own bodies. And that's something that I didn't even think about until the last like couple of years when I was in school. I started school and studying like Chinese medicine, and I'm learning about all this stuff. And even though I do a lot of my own studying outside of school, I still feel like there's so much that I don't know because so much stuff is coming out about all these things. And it's like, you know, herbs, plant medicine, like regular medicines, like how exercise affects you, like how stress now affects you, how positive or negative thinking affects your cells, like how we store past, like all this stuff. This is a lot of stuff. And it's not to say that, you know, to diminish anything that Western medicine's doing. I think it's just to start understanding that there's a lot more out there. And that sometimes you might know more about a specific thing than your doctor because you actually took the time to do the research and you actually took the time to look up what's going on with you. And I think one of the biggest things that in the modern education of a doctor is that I feel like you start with disease and then you figure out how to make that disease better rather than starting with what does like a perfect picture of health look like and how do we promote health. So that's the one things about your elixirs too, and about these herbs. When I ordered my elixirs from you, I didn't have a specific condition. I just wanted, you know, overall well-being and to become healthier. And I think that that's what a lot of people don't realize too about medicine is that medicine shouldn't just be there for when you're sick. It should also be there to promote health and, you know, help you get healthier as well.
Exactly.
Who's that? Some philosopher, I think is a philosopher, someone like hundreds of years ago, maybe Socrates. But the quote goes that let your food be thy medicine.
Yeah, Hippocrates.
Hippocrates.
Yeah.
All right. It was rhymed.
It was a tease.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I thought you were going to go with the quote, the sign of a good doctor is how many people he keeps off medication then puts on medication.
Is that Socrates?
No, that's pretty new.
I think that was like pretty relevant. Yeah, that was more within the last like 100 or 200 years. But yeah, no, I think that that's like a thing that we need to realize in today's society too. And honestly, Danny, like you said, things are definitely changing. It would be cool if we had like a magic wand to, you know, fast forward time because I think we are moving towards a more holistic based approach. And it's kind of sad that the only reason that we're actually getting there now is because Western like we're causing a lot of harm too with the things we're doing with side effects, and like the opioid crisis really threw like pain medication and a lot of those companies into the spotlight of like, yo, what are we actually doing? And yeah.
But also another one that's like being kind of like on that realm of like just it's causing a lot of harm, and it's like getting to a point where like I feel like, at least it's my viewpoint, it's like modern medicine can only go so far because it's man-made. Whereas like, you know, like what you're doing, Danny, is like it's God made.
Right. Like the whatever it's doing is in perfect quantities and perfect amounts. And then also like I think with Western medicine too, and certain like healing modalities, like it kind of ends at fixing the physical human body and not really addressing like the psycho-emotional, like spiritual part of the being. And I think that's why like in the future too, when people get healthier and healthier through traditional means, they're going to start seeking like, what else can I do to make myself healthier? How come I keep getting this treatment and it keeps coming back? Like, what else is there going on inside my head? And one of the beautiful things about studying Chinese medicine and learning about certain herbs, I understand that a lot of them have like spiritual qualities. And so I feel like all these adaptogens, like they're not just helping the people that you're giving them to on a physical level, it's also like a spiritual level that it's helping them like reach new heights. Is there anything that you can say about that or speak about that too? Or
Yes.
yeah.
I don't never get the opportunity to talk about the spirituality of herbs because I'm
Yeah,
always
let's dive
trying
in.
to change, I'm trying to change people's mindset about how they look at their body, because everyone has a Western perspective. But, you know, on a Western level, the herbs will definitely affect your body. But on that Eastern level, on the spiritual level, they have this effect on, especially, you know, Chinese medicine, they don't look at the body the same way as Western medicine does. They look at organ systems, how they work together. But then your mind and how the energy flows through you, these herbs have these certain effects. And I'm sure you probably could explain the yin and the yang a little better than I could, but the energy levels that the herbs produce inside certain organ systems, they create a healing energy. And it's just like, you know, your chakras are moving around, they're flowing steadily, which incorporates that healing. That healing has to happen, and it's not just the cells, it's the energy through the cells. And taking a herb specific like goji berry, has one of the most all around nourishing for your gut. And that has so many benefits to your overall health, and, you know, just incorporate, especially in your root chakra. So when you boost that root chakra, you are literally giving all the rest of the chakras the energy that they need in order to start flowing efficiently, to go up to the sacral, go up to your heart chakra, to go up to your throat chakra, to go up to your pineal gland, and then to your crown chakra, of course. And that right there, man, is when you have these herbs that can boost the spiritual energy inside of you. That, I mean, the side effect of that is health. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, we look at health as if that's the end all be all, but reality is we want to make sure our energy is as flowing and as healthy as it can be. And that's what, you know, the adaptogen. I mean, there's many other herbs that have specific functions as well, but the adaptogens, they just have an overall nourishing effect on the energy of our body.
Yeah, and I think that's beautifully the way that you explain that, because from a Chinese medicine perspective, like all of, like you said, the organs, they look how they work together, like synergistically, and then every organ system has a physical function but also a spiritual function. And I mean, we all know on this call about how consciousness comes before form. Like you know, the way that you think about the world molds the energy of the world into physical form. And so when you're working on someone from an herbal perspective on these certain organs, you're helping out the physical to support the spiritual, and you're helping out the spiritual to support the physical. It's like you're creating this better like synergy between what's going on inside the body. And I think that that's a big thing that other medical philosophies miss, is that whole spiritual aspect of it, because you can clear something physically from someone's body, but if you don't clear the reason why it came there in the first place, it's going to manifest itself again, because that energy has to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so like, it's really awesome to hear that these herbs have that spiritually clearing effect and cleaning effect, because you're really working on the person from all angles just by, just with these herbs, which is freaking awesome.
And it's one of my favorite things. The point that you brought up is having the environment and how the energy of your body really affects, the physics. But when I talk to people and I get to deal with them face to face, I, from my background of sociology and psychology, I hear their stories. And when I can hear what's going on in their life, I can give them a couple of other tips alongside using the elixirs to help them balance everything that's going on in their body, giving them the nourishment they need, giving them the herbs that's going to help with their spiritual and stress levels, and then giving them some kind words and some advice that they can use on their day-to-day life, which will just increases all the things synergistic.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. It seems like I could tell just the way you described that. And I know that people listening to the podcast won't be able to see your face, but when you talk about that, I could feel and see the peace exuding from you when you're like, especially like I'm like, I bet that's a blessing for people you see in person, because there's an energy transference that happens when you're face to face with someone, or in more older terms, like belly to belly. Because I mean,
Right.
now, like, because we're literally face to face now that
Right.
technology allows us to video chat, but like actually in person with that in person with that person, it's that energy transfer, which is awesome.
Right. It's one of those missing links. And it's funny because even in Western medicine, they say the doctor's interaction with the patient can have a 30% increase on the effect of the drug. Like, how does
Yes.
that even make sense? But
Yeah.
I mean, exactly what you're saying, the energy transference. If you're coming
Yeah.
with a positive energy, if you're coming with something that's generally caring and trying to boost their health, they can feel it, they absorb it, and it helps them and helps their mind heal their body.
Exactly. What you just said, the 30%. I don't know if it's exactly what you were talking about, but I mean the placebo effect. Like,
Right.
someone is told something, they believe it. It's that belief, and like that alone just blows my mind whenever I think about it. Just like the placebo effect. It's so common knowledge now, but
Mhm.
when you really dive into it, it's your belief in it. If someone's telling you something and you believe that, and you're gelling with what they're believing in, then that
Right.
has an effect on you, like
Hmm.
physically, emotionally, like down to like you can measure it, like changes
Exactly.
you.
Hmm.
Crazy.
And it's funny too, because when I've talked to several people about the placebo effect, and I've noticed that they're not really quite sure exactly what it is. They say, "Oh, it's just in your head. That's the placebo." You realize everything is in your head.
Yeah.
Like, if it's not in your head, then it's not happening.
Uh-huh.
So people like to discredit the beauty and the magnificence of the placebo effect,
Yeah.
which, I mean, at the end of the day, if you change the semantics, placebo effect equals miracle.
Yeah.
Like, it is what a miracle is. You can't explain it. It just happened, and now you are better. And
Mm-hmm.
for that to happen, is that you need the tools and you need the mindset.
Yeah.
And the mindset can do it by itself, but if you're in a toxic environment, the chances are slim to none. But
Yeah.
if you have the nourishment, if you have the tools to remove the toxins from your body, and then obviously
Mhm.
from your environment, then you make the magic. You are
Mm-hmm.
healing yourself. The herbs are not healing you.
Mhm.
Like, you are healing yourself because you're putting yourself in the position to heal. Your body is magical. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it happens.
And I think it's all like, you definitely have to approach things from every angle. Like, it has to be mental, physical, experience, like spiritual. It has to be from all those angles. And it's crazy too, because I even think that, most traditional drugs, like, I think at the end of the day, the body's still healing itself, because the drugs are there to do a specific thing to help put the body back into some sort of balance. But at the end of the day, like, it's your cells interacting with, the medicine, interacting with all the other things that are going on in your body that's creating the healing or creating the disease.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And so I think that's super important too. And I'm in a class this semester called pharmacology. Basically, Kev, you probably took a class like
No,
that.
you're taking pharmacology?
Yeah.
What the
Nice.
heck?
And so it's
Chinese
basically like,
medicine? That's crazy.
yeah, it's basically in New York State, there's a very heavy biomedical portion on the acupuncture exam. And so we actually take like a full course of like biomedicine, like
Nice.
10 or 12 classes.
Wow.
And which is great because it's awesome because it's really like helping me like form this sphere of like Western and Eastern. And then,
You said sphere, right?
Yeah.
Because it sounded like you said fear. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, so in this class pharmacology, like we're learning about how drugs interact with the body, and we're just learning about like one drug at a time. So it'll be like aspirin or like warfarin or like a statin, and it's like so complicated. And like all these receptors that it hits, and the problem is that the receptors it wants to target in one spot do a different thing in another spot of the body. And so it's just like when I'm looking at this, I'm like, that's why like herbs and holistic medicine is so appealing, especially when you understand it from this perspective. It's because a drug can't mimic what the human body is supposed to do. The human body is way too complicated.
Right.
And I say the word complicated because like some higher power understands what's going on. Like, and if you can connect with that power and really allow the energy to flow through you the way it's supposed to, you know, with the help of herbs and with the help of acupuncture and with the help of mindset and meditation and all of these things, the body's smart and the body knows what to do. And I feel like a lot of healing in today's day and age is getting out of the way of the body, like lowering the stress, like pursuing something you love to do, putting the right things into your body, removing like negative energy. And then your body just is like, okay, like, thank you for removing all that. Now that I'm in this position, like, let's get to work.
Yeah. What's that?
Like our bodies are bombarded so much in today's day and age with so many things like toxic food, stress, not doing what you want to do in this world, like causes just negative energy inside your body. And then it's no wonder that we can't heal and we have all these chronic diseases and illnesses around, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's those emotions, you know, you can't measure them, you can't see them, you can't weigh them, but they're there. You know, the emotions of all the things that you're saying, especially feeling like you're stuck in life. I mean, this is a little off from the Western medicine, but that psychological feeling it's a toxin. It is a toxin on your body, on your emotional well-being, and on your spiritual well-being, and that will cause the manifestation of these cancers. Everything now is idiopathic. They say, I don't know how it caused. Where did it come from? I don't know. We don't know. But it's there. And no one's even thinking about, well, maybe it's the way that you feel. Maybe it's the way that you eat. Maybe it's, you know, the things that's happening around you that's actually causing things to happen inside of you that you don't want.
And the perception.
Exactly. And
what you're saying, like that, it's true. Like what I mean, sounds kind of ridiculous if someone's not initiated, I'll use that word, into this world of science behind all of this. But like our thinking and our perception about like thinking about what has happened, like you're saying, like that it causes toxicity. Literally, your body starts to create molecules in your body or hormones, neurotransmitters, whatever that create that environment that is toxic.
Right.
Like that is studied.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The free radicals, right? They always say, oh, the free radicals are probably the cause of it. But free radicals, where they just come from? I mean, and now we're going to talk about the electricity. So the free radicals, you know, they stealing the electricity from certain cells. Like, how do you have a robber molecule? It's stealing electricity. You need that electricity for your cells to function and your nervous system to function. And that's, you know, those things are there, and it's in our food, it's in the water, it's in, you know, we create it even from our perception. So it's, you know,
I was doing some research on stress a few months ago, and I was reading some like literal like NIH articles, like National Institute of Health, on like what the definition of stress is, and it was talking about the HPA axis, and like it kept mentioning that what the nervous system will respond to an event outside of you that you perceive as stressful. And I underlined and bolded that line because I'm literally like, here is in a scientific article, like them explaining, not really explaining, but them secondhandedly explaining the mind-body connection, that you have this ability to perceive stuff that's happening outside of you, and that perception of an event creates a chemical cocktail in your body that your cells then respond to, because your cells aren't connected to the outside world except your skin cells. But like your liver is inside of you. Like, how does it respond to the outside world? It responds through the pictures you give it by how you and your brain perceive the outside world.
Right.
So it's just, it's a huge thing. But I love that you brought up electricity too. Electrons. So
Yeah,
important.
man, we are electrical.
Yeah.
You guys heard of Dr. Sebi before?
I've heard of him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't done near as much research as you probably have on him though, but
Gotcha. Yeah, Dr. Sebi's your body's electrical, and he's a big, well, R.I.P. the great Dr. Sebi, passed away a couple years ago, but um, his whole approach was looking at the body as an electrical system and putting the herbs and the right materials inside of it to boost that electricity. And once you have the electricity, it increases your pH, so you're not acidic and you are functioning at a high level. If your electricity is high, your pH is not low, and you have, the right tools in your body, essentially you will never get sick.
mm.
Mhm.
Nice.
Yeah, there's a whole thing I'm learning about electricity and pH in this acupuncture course that I'm taking, because I'm getting really into electroacupuncture, and you can literally measure the pH scale with like positivity and negativity. Like the more negative cells get, the more alkaline they get, and the more positive they get, the more acidic they get. And you can literally measure a healthy cell has negative 25 millivolts of electric charge to it. And as it gets more unhealthy, it loses negative charge. So it becomes like negative 15, negative 10, then it becomes positive. It's like really sick.
Wow.
And your body needs, so if you have an unhealthy cell, let's say that has negative 5 millivolts instead of negative 25, in order for the cell to heal, it needs negative 50. So it needs more of a charge to heal itself. And the way that like this scientist figured this out, because he was trying to figure out how salamanders can regenerate their limbs.
Mhm.
And so like when you cut off the limbs of animals, he would notice that it would make like a huge stump of very positively charged cells because they were very injured. And then the spinal cord would send negativity to it, basically, like literally send electrons to signal the cells to start healing. And then that's how the arm would grow back. And so it launched this whole study of like electricity and, how our bodies work. We really are electrical beings. And so you really got to keep that body, as electrically charged as possible, as you said it before, because I've never heard anyone say it like that, but that's the key.
I think that's really like one of the most, if there's one thing for people to understand, like really your electricity is it. I mean, you're not going to put your hand in an outlet and think the electricity is going to fix you. But, you look at the foods that you have, if they go bad fast, that means they have a high electricity. You got papayas and apples, like they're electrically active. Like Carolyn photography, if you cut like an apple and put it there, you will see how electrically active that the apple is, and then after a while you'll see the electricity starts to diminish a little bit. It's the oxidation of it. Just you will see it just degrades, and that's the same thing inside of our body. We kind of rust, if you will. Start that process of those cells. But that salamander experiment, I got to look into that one.
Yeah, we'll connect after the show. I can send you a book that I read, and I can send you the doctor too who did all these experiments on salamanders.
Yo, link it in the description.
Okay.
Because don't hold out on the people listening.
Yeah, Danny, I think you'd really enjoy the book. It's literally called The Body Electric.
Okay.
And it's about this osteopathic surgeon, like throughout his life, experimenting with salamanders and electricity and just figuring out like how cells signal to each other and how they function. And he figured out that a lot of it was electrical. Yeah, it was really cool.
Awesome. So you guys, let's bring it in for a landing to keep this episode at a certain length. But final thoughts, like, because we covered several different topics. Each we probably could spend an hour on.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely gonna have Danny back at some future. We can get into more specifics on certain things we talked about here.
Sure.
I feel like we didn't even get that deep.
We didn't even scratch.
No, we didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll definitely have to have another episode. But any final thoughts, like for you on your end, Danny?
For me, first, I appreciate you guys having me on. I can't wait to come back. But for the people, you got to take your health into your own hands. Understand your body is very, very complex, but at the same time, it is fairly simple. If you hydrate yourself, if you keep toxins away from you, and you have a happy place, you know, and you find yourself in a place of peace, you will inevitably find yourself in a healthier situation.
Awesome.
Nice.
Dude, well said. And Danny, the last thing is, can you just tell everyone where to find you, and if they want to know more about your elixirs, like do you have a website, Instagram, like yeah.
Right. My website is www.movers.education, not edu, the whole word.
Mhm.
On Instagram, you can find me at the People's Herbalist, and you can find some testimonials and some information on at Movers Elixir.
Awesome. Yeah, and
Sweet.
everyone listening, I do recommend. They're delicious, and they just make you feel so good. And you can, he makes custom ones too. So
Sweet.
good stuff there,
Yeah, and we'll also put those links in the description as well, so it's easy for someone to find instead of having them type it in.
Awesome.
Nice.
All right. Thanks so much, Danny. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys, man. I can't wait to talk to you again.
All right.
And that's it for today. So thanks for tuning in, and we really hope you enjoyed listening to this episode as much as we enjoyed recording it. So any questions, any comments, just connect with us on Instagram. You could always DM us at Kevin Francis Carton
and at Chris J. Carton. And also, if you feel guided to, the one thing we do ask is for you to please rate the podcast and leave us a review. This way we can reach more people and impact more lives with this amazing information. With that, we'll see you on the next episode.